The title of Theme 2 is An Introduction to Social Linguistics. In this second theme, we shall have a look at the definitions of social linguistics, and we try to see how social linguistics emerged in the scene of linguistics, which means we'll talk about the birth of social linguistics. Now, let's define what social linguistics is from a set of definitions provided by a number of scholars. We can come to say that for the first definition given by Holmes 2001, social linguistics is concerned with the relationship between language and the context in which it is used. For Matthew 1997, sociolinguistics is any study of language in relation to society. Trudgill 1983 defines sociolinguistics as the part of linguistics which is concerned with language as a social and cultural phenomenon. For Spolsky 1988, sociolinguistics is the field that studies the relation between language and society, between the uses of language and the social structures in which the language is used. Now, from these definitions provided by these scholars, it is clear that social linguistics is a branch of linguistics dealing with the relationship between language and society. It is concerned with both the effect of language on society and the effect of society on language. In these perspectives, language is the communication tool, and society is about the communities. If people, the place, in this case, the place is very important because the language style of people reflects the place to which they belong. Overall, we can say that social linguistics is the relationship between, on one hand, language, and on the other one, it is society. It studies the effect of language on society and the effect of society on language. Here we can say that social linguistics as a branch of linguistics, and fundamentally it is a branch of macro social linguistics. Let's define macro social linguistics. Macro social linguistics concern, to understand better what we mean by macro social linguistics, we have to compare it to micro social linguistics. With micro social linguistics, concern is with the internal description of language. That is, we describe language from inside. Here we are concerned with the phonological description, morphological description, the syntactic description, the semantic description. That is, in other words, it is concerned with phonology. With phonology, there is phonetics, morphology, with syntax, and with semantics. Within this internal description, focus is only to describe language without paying attention to any external or the other factor. However, when we talk about macro social linguistics, it is not an inside description of language. It is an outside description of language. What we mean by an outside description of language? It is to describe language in relation to other domains. That is, for example, the description of language in relation to society. And this has given us the birth of social linguistics, the description of language in relation to psychology. This has given us the birth of psycholinguistics. And there are other macro social linguistic branches, such as biolinguistics, biology and linguistics, neurolinguistics, neurology and linguistics, computational linguistics, computing and linguistics, and mathematical linguistics, which is concerned with, on one hand, mathematics, and on the other one, linguistics. Overall, macro social linguistics is a hybrid discipline. That is, it is the coupling of two, let's say, entities. On one hand, language, and on the other one, let's say, other domains, other fields. Coming back to social linguistics is a branch of macrolinguistics. Social linguistics is a branch of applied linguistics. Social linguistics is a branch of linguistics. That is, it is concerned with language and society. So this is a summary of the definitions of social linguistics. What is more, social linguistics, to summarize, investigates how language use is a determinant of a given society's linguistics requirements. This simply means that every society has its particular linguistic codes that are acceptable for communication and interaction. Thus, social linguistics strives to display how groups in a given society are separated by certain social norms and how the adherence to these norms could be used to categorize individuals in very defined social and social-economic classes. This is all about, let's say, what social linguistics is. Now, let's move to talk, present, and discuss, of course, briefly, the birth of social linguistics. Of course, the previous flawed linguistics doctrines pushed linguists to consider a social linguistics as essentially incomplete. Thus, a new linguistic perspective emerged. It studied language with reference to the context as opposed to perceiving it as closed system. By this, we mean that before the birth of social linguistics, the linguistic theories, the linguistic schools, the linguistic methods and approach focused on the description of language without giving any consideration, any importance to the environment, the social environment where language operates. In this case, we can refer, for example, to the schools of structuralism and also the mentalist school, the structuralist school that prevailed during the first half of the 20th century. And as a reaction to this school, the mentalist school, or the transformational generative grammar school, initiated by the American linguist Noam Chomsky, that came right after as a reaction to the structuralist school. We can see here both of them. We can see the structuralism that focused on the form of language, and it studied language from inside. It did not pay attention to the external, let's say, factors in which language operates. Similarly, we can say that Chomsky's theory focused more on language and with its mental perspective without going outside the mind. In both cases, language was a social, the study of language was a social linguistics. Now, something happened right after these two, let's say, perspectives that are structuralism and Chomsky's theory. There was a new, let's say, perspective provided by a linguist whose name is Delheims. So Delheims reacted against Chomsky's linguistic competence. We know that Chomsky considered that language has two facets. The set of rules that are present in the mind of a ideal native speaker, on one hand, on the other hand, the actual production or use of language. He labeled these two facets. The first one, competence. The other one, performance. In both cases, Chomsky stressed the fact that language, its competence. That is, it's that set of rules that are in the mind. It is limited to the mind. Delheims said that this is not enough. How about language in use? So here he was talking not about linguistic competence. He has to go beyond linguistic competence to communicative competence. Of course, with this new concept, something happened with linguistics. Interest in the social dimension of language paved the way to the emergence of sociolinguistics. Of course, this new field aimed to describe language as an open system by accounting for the rules of use. So, before, Delheim's communicative competence focused once on language as a closed system. Language is limited within the mind, or Chomsky's, as Chomsky's claimed that. With Delheim's, language is no more a closed system. It is an open system. Here we refer to Janan, 2018, citing Fishman, 1972, who indicates that the purpose of sociolinguistics is the formula who speaks what language, to whom, and where. Of course, this suggests that the fundamental principles of sociolinguistics are about language variation, language contact, and language change. Overall, what can we say about this theme and the introduction of sociolinguistics? Sociolinguistics concerns itself with the study of language in relation to society. In other words, it is the effect of language on society and vice versa, the effect of society on language. This is the fundamental definition of sociolinguistics. Of course, when we talk about society, we can talk about language in use, language in context, the social norms, the social, let's say, variables. This is number one. Number two, when we talk about the emergence of sociolinguistics, of course, we have not mentioned that before, but we can say that sociolinguistics emerged mainly in the second half of the last century, the 20th century. It came as a reaction to the evolution of the linguistic, let's say, investigations, descriptions, studies, approaches that prevailed before its birth. All what prevailed before the birth of sociolinguistics, we can say that it focused more on description of language without considering all what surrounds language, the environment where it operates, the context where it is used, language uses. And with the consideration of these things that were not considered before, mainly with Delheim's communicative competence, now importance was now given to language not only as a closed system, rather as language as an open system. In this case, more importance, more consideration was paid and was given to language and the context where it takes place, language and where it occurs, language and these external factors. With this new perspective, of course, sociolinguistics came as a subject that is within linguistics, and now with time, this subject, this sub-area of linguistics, of applied linguistics, this sub-area of linguistics in general and applied linguistics in particular, has grown to become the discipline per se. Now, we talk about sociolinguistics as a speciality, sociolinguistics as a discipline that is independent and which is not only something that is related to something else. Overall, this is all about the definitions, some summary of some definitions of sociolinguistics, and a brief account of how sociolinguistics has come to emerge in the scene of linguistics. This is the first part of theme 2. Right after, we will go and talk about part 2 in this second theme, which is an introduction to social linguistics. Thank you very much indeed.